Welcome to Beyond the Box.
Our guests are insiders that are now out and on our side, dropping nuclear intel and breaking it down just for you.
And now it's time to introduce our hosts, Brenda Lankridge and Suzanne Haunt. Join us and subscribe for weekly shows. Beyond the Box begins now. Let's jump in.
We're back. I feel like I've been gone for like a week. That was a good show, guys. Nadine just told us really how she felt. So Susie is in bed. She's going to try to watch, but her fingers are probably going to go to sleep because the last text message she sent me, I couldn't even figure out what it said. There it is again. But we have got, quiet phone. We have got Michael Anthony with us. This is going to be fun. We can probably basically talk about whatever you guys want to talk about because you know what? We're going to be open for suggestions. I'm just going to spill things out of my mouth and Michael will come in with a mop and clean it up. She's usually the way this might happen. But so I have with us tonight, we've got Steven. Hi, Steven. Steven is back. And
good to be here.
It's Michael.
Well, that was rather sudden.
I know. I just
Flash, Gordon, you're here.
I know, right? Here you are. Come on. It's okay. I don't care. You got a drink? You got a cigarette? You all right? You got coffee?
I got my things.
I got my pineapple juice.
I got my things. Yes, thank you for having me back on. I'll try to watch my verbiage.
Yeah, well, it just YouTube so that you know everything that we talk about is our opinion only, you suck ass.
Yeah. This is for entertainment purposes only.
That's right. And we're not going to get up and dance and break dance and do all that fancy stuff. We're going to entertain you with our mouths because they will be a moving.
Okay, watch what a lady says. Just saying. I'm thinking out of your beyond the box.
That's right. We are beyond it. We are way beyond it.
I'm trying to figure out how to work these controls here. It says chat, and all it comes up is like all these. I don't know what the hell they are.
Those are people, Michael.
Oh, these are people. Okay.
No, what is it?
I still don't use my YouTube channel anymore. I do upload to it, but I don't use it because I'm constantly, getting in trouble. So, but here's the weird part about it. I can do all and say anything I want as long as I only upload it.
Yeah. I believe that.
It's crazy. But anyway, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Last time I was on, I guess I caused you guys some, a little bit of problems. I'll try to really be careful tonight.
You know what?
I'll let you lead the way because I wasn't looking forward to am I doing a presentation here? What's going on? So to me, it's just friends. Me and you, we've talked on the phone before. We do know each other pretty damn well. In case the world needs to know it, yes, we are good friends. And we talk about things without the green screen in many ways, trying to find resolution and answers to things and figuring things out. And why? Because we care about the public, we care about the children, and it means a lot for us to have a future in this world, what we have left of it in our lives at least.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, Nadine, that show I did at 5, she was tearing it up on North Carolina. She was the first thing she said. I said, Nadine, how are you? She said, I am pissed. And I went, oh, you go, girl.
I think the world's pissed when you look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
scenario there, not to carry you over of a past show, but I mean, truthfully, we've watched what happened. We watched the reaction, and there was no reaction of our, administration that is lingering its path out into the pasture somewhere,
Dragging their
on their
butts
way
somewhere.
to Gitmo or Nuremberg or one of those great other scenarios. But there's a lot more going on too. But with that being said, um, these people, it's just been an abomination of what they allowed, what they've done, blocking, support of people and help and medical supplies, just so many things. I'm sure that your wonderful guest said a lot, and I'll just end it with that. But I'm in no better of a place of what I've seen then to what I see now, as well
Yep.
as when I found out what was going on in Florida, where some of the constituents to FEMA, if you had a Trump sign in your yard, you got walked over on. No, you're not getting any help from FEMA, but
Yep.
we'll give you $750, but it may take
Yeah.
3 or 4 months.
Yes. And and here's the bad thing. FEMA is out there, but they're doing nothing but causing havoc. They are just interfering with everything.
Right.
So I urge everybody to contact the governor out there and keep contacting him. Tell him to kick FEMA out of there. Get rid of them. They're not doing anybody any good. The people are helping themselves, plus the foundations that are helping them and everything else. They are better off without them. I mean, it's just as simple as that. And until somebody comes along and revamps that whole organization, which needs to happen, okay? They're misusing funds. They're not right. The last time that we had a hurricane in Florida, not these last ones, but it was a while back, and I don't remember what the hell the name of that one was because every time I turn around, they're pulling names out of the sky. But they had flooding, they had everything going on. If FEMA was going through these people's homes while they were not in there, they were stealing from them. They were taking weapons. They were taking. Who does this? What kind of a heart do you have? Well, you know what? I wouldn't. I still go by Ronald Reagan. The worst words you could hear come out of anybody's mouth is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Run.
Yeah. Right?
And that was the only part that he left out, but I don't think he really did. When you listen to his speeches, he pretty much laid it out there. But we've had other presidents also that warned us about the bigger sides of the issues. Eisenhower administration, when leaving, he was put into a very, very misleading dilemma of things
Yeah.
of need to know. We'll just kind of say, of part of the worry of where the world was at, where it was going, and what was going to take place, and it just wasn't all about this new world other thing, but it had to do with a lot of other things, including extraterrestrials and things. And it basically he got whitewashed with it. He became the burden of responsibility that had to step up to do things. And then, of course, you had, as you said, other presidents who stepped up and gave fair warnings as well. You have JFK.
Yeah.
We see where that got him. Well, at least we see what had happened. We don't really know anything about any real end result there. There's rumors that say he's alive, or he was alive up till a couple years ago. And he had visitations from Trump and other constituents of wealth, we'll just say, that knew the family, the Kennedy family.
Right.
But there's a lot of stuff there too. Even when if you go back and you really do research, I think Mr. Kennedy was a bootlegger, and he also funded Hitler. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say the wrong thing here. He funded the war, but so did Prescott Bush. So I mean, what part of it, when you look at this information and you wage this in this psychological warfare, what is actually factually true? Well, the part that I know that's factually true is, hey, he was all into running whiskey. making that homemade mash. I mean, he had people out in the woods doing it, and they were running it. He worked with the mob on it. He really did. Now, did he really give money and fund it? I don't know unequivocally that that's factually true, but I do know it has been referenced heavily that that was going on. And through that, he was promised for helping fund the war for Germany to win against us, which Germany did kick our asses in many ways. But it was again, it was a shit show to look a certain way.
Yes.
It's crazy. So he was promised, if he became more politically involved and stepped back and walked and observed within a different light of the public format, that one or two or more within his family, as long as they did what they were asked to do, could hold political power. And he chose to go that route to put his family above more. And I don't think JFK was all down with what he learned about once he got in there. So, you have all these scenarios that are all over the place, but that's a little bit of history, and some of it on the funding. I'm just not 100% sure, but I do know Prescott Bush, without a doubt, did fund it. And of course, we've seen anybody that was tied to that regime, the breakaway civilization or not of the Germans, you've seen people come into power. And of course, shortly after all that and some of those events, they handpicked 1,500 scientists and met people of biomedical and all this other stuff. They were pulled from Nuremberg. They were pulled from these trials and sent to the United States. And that was the part when we started to become occupied America, because we have been occupied by other entities and other world leader in countries. And this was how that narration went. Promises to presidencies, selected, not elected. And then you get into some of the other facts where we know now, as I was just describing, some of those other things and scenarios. So anyway, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, this is what I'm. Look at you, Michael. Well, there is one thing that I can say. We won.
We won now.
Yeah, this time.
And we've seen that where we tripped and fell many other times through history. So let's hope this one is the one that counts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we won last time too, and then the time before that, but apparently, you know how that works.
Well, what I say is factually true. I mean, we had people to be held accountable, a Gitmo. No, you want to call it Gitmo or whatever, you call it whatever you want. And they were this was all about to help the new America and science to get to the moon, man. You get it? To get to the moon. And did it happen? Well, it's kind of hard to say, especially when NASA says, who I think is just a cover blanket, a cover up so the military industrial complex of every divisional complex in the military who is out doing outside research and development, putting things together for other nefarious purposes and some purposes of good. So you have all these scenarios that just reflect back to each other like that. So here you have a bunch of these morons that come in. They're actually running the pattern forth and forward. And why would NASA just lose $200 billion in tech? They made this own comment. The CEO, whatever you want to call this moron, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, said, well, we got rid of the information on how we got to the moon. We got to start from scratch. Why would you get rid of $200 billion in information? Are you joking? I would fire you if it was under your watch. You would no longer be there. And why does NASA have all these places throughout the world, including down right behind the pyramids? Why is that? And why does NASA own the rights to the inside of the Great Pyramid?
And the part of the Grand Canyon that you are not allowed.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and we know about that early 1900 story of the Egyptians and so forth. But there's been many others. It's not been Columbus. Leif Erikson talked about it. Leif Erikson was here in 900 AD. He made notes of it. He made notes of coming across hairy type people. You can call them Sasquatch. We don't know what they were. He didn't know how to refer to them. You have Columbus and other constituents who were on the waterways who spoke about some of these other orbs of light in the water coming in, coming out, following them, then taking off abruptly, them having no idea what the hell they were looking at. It's crazy when you put the enormity of everything together. This is why I like doing what I do. But you got to have a little bit of knowledge behind everything to do it, of course, because when you invite guests on, it really helps. I mean, at least for me, some of the folks that I get to come on with me, they're very well educated and informed, and they do a lot of research and study. But from what I learned on this journey and path, this comes all from ancient, everything ancient, and that's exactly where it is. As far as how everything has been manufactured, you might want to say we are truly in a matrix of something, of a control. And it goes back to religions, and I don't want to touch hard on that because a lot of people just don't want to, but there are things about everything with subject matter that should be discussed more in a likable manner, in a peaceful manner, and nobody's willing to do it.
Well, when you sit there and you think about it, I once heard it said that, well, we ourselves as a species, we don't own this planet. This planet is actually inhabited by other things first.
Yeah. Well, when you go back into the ancient, and what we're finding, and the further we dig down, we're finding tools that should not be there. That or should not be there because of what we were taught, but they are there. They're being found. So yes, there were technologies, and we see in the petroglyphs and all these other different things, paintings and cave paintings and so forth. The examples and stargates on pyramids where you have the echelon loop. I think it's called the echelon loop with a star in the middle, and then like a horseshoe, and then you have a doorway, and that actually represents Stargate. So we're talking about things and technologies where, let's just say, it's not even that they understood it. They were trying to understand it because they have the same interest that we have in everything we are experiencing. Maybe we're just doing what they were trying to do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, somewhere down the line, somebody's got to get it right.
Yeah, and I think that's what the AI is about too, the genetic makeup of that. When you look at it, you need a machine that could think better than man. You can have all the Teslas and Einsteins in a room that you want, and Elon Musk. And I'm not saying that they're not fabulous people, and they have not made great contributions. They have. But when you look into it, if you put the science of the computer forefront and allow it to educate itself with processors that are developed for that, they will do it. They will learn on their own, and they already have. These are things that have been put in place in many other ways. Tracking devices, GPS, telephones, North Star in your car. I mean, all these other things that you got introduced to that you thought were like, hey, these are cool. But unknowing, many people just never put together the things that I was putting together years ago, that what they are basically going to do is spy on us and, create Earth to look like this big type of, I can't think of it, spike protein. Because if you were to look at Earth and all these new, 510G, actually, it's how far you turn the dial up. I mean, look at what's going on, in California, where you cyclone blizzards in the Northeast, up at the lakes, cyclone blizzards. They're not done with the weather destruction. And that thing in itself is a weather component weapon. I don't care what people say about it. And where I am in Pennsylvania, I get a lot of great pictures. I do a lot of sky viewing. I do a lot of photojournalists. journalistical investigations at night up there. I've got some incredible things, and I think in ways this is part of a cloaking for what they're playing with also up there. So, look how far I've jumped from coming on, starting out in North Carolina with a weather condition, coming up till now, months later, and still talking about this weapon of device.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what gets me? They've had this stuff for a long time.
Oh my God, yeah. You can go
Yeah.
back and even hear Kennedy talk about it. If you were to go into one, I have several groups, and I really put this type of content in there. Kennedy himself discussed this publicly, that they were working on then weather modifications, and we do know in the Vietnam War they used it and they sunk all of our equipment there. They did it in a way, and I don't know what the way was. They couldn't turn it off. They created such a catastrophic problem because they were being shot at in the air while they were doing it. They just started to dump the materials. The rain wouldn't shut off. And all of our heaviest military equipment that we were able to shoreline through the destroyers and so forth and get them onto the ground surfaces, all were sinking no matter where the battlefields were.
Yep. Yep. I have the speech. I don't know if I told you that I have this speech that Kennedy was supposed to give that next day after his assassination.
I heard that. No, I don't. I know that there was something, and there's always something pre-written by staff and so forth. There was never no release of it that I'm aware of, and I don't know if any whistleblowers were able to actually do something and it's now become public. I'd like to have a copy of something like that does exist.
I need to get you that, because that's where I got it from, was a whistleblower.
Okay.
And in this speech that he was going to give, he does talk about, we're not alone in this universe. There are people on this planet that aren't from here. I mean, he lays it out. So, it's almost like, I think that some of these people, they know what they're up against when they're going to let this out. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're prepared for the fact that, well, okay, look, I think I done pissed somebody off. So let me make arrangements to kind of lay low for a while. And in some cases, I think a lot of them did that. Some of the, famous people and different stuff like that. And after some of them have been gone for 40 years, you wouldn't recognize them right now if they walked up to you on the street and spit in your shoe. You wouldn't even know who they were in most cases. So how many of these people were going to let out information and it was found out that they were going to be harmed, that were taken and put someplace safe? Because these people, these idiots that, control our country, they think that the American people are stupid and cannot handle the truth.
Yeah.
Now, way back in the day when they had that, what was that, War of the Worlds, the broadcast that they did over the radio, saying that we were going to get attacked by aliens and everybody was going stupid and people were committing suicide and people were killing each other. Okay, yeah. But in this day and age now, Michael, we all accept a lot. And nothing surprises us anymore. We've put up with so much bullshit. We're like, okay, somebody could come knocking on my door saying, you need to come out here and look at this alien ship. I'll be like, wait a minute, let me get my flag because I need to hitch a ride. I mean, I need off of here. This place sucks. So, I don't know why they find it so hard to tell us the truth. We all know. We know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talk to people with good backgrounds that were there with these people that you've made mention of in certain ways without making mention of them. Colonel Corso,
you like that?
Yeah. And Colonel Corso was one of the ones who released the crash retrieval items that got put into reverse engineering programs through different affiliates outsourced of the military to recreate them or to utilize them to help us in our future endeavors. And, I think right there, a man like that who wrote books, did lectures, worked with other people, and a very close constituent, a lady that's now in her beautiful 80s, but was there on the ground, boots on the ground with him, listening to all his words and him telling her, "You have to continue this when I'm no longer here," Paula Harris. And they won't even let her speak in the United States. They basically banded her from what she did. She did
Yeah.
Charles Hall. She did Clifford Stone. She did all the best of the best. She had Stephen Greer right in her home. He was staying with her. They had to be a fly on the wall in some of these conversations, but some of these things too. And I think one of the reasons is it's just not the explosion, the explosion of exposing the religion, which it would do. It's bigger than that. But you also have like Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, which, by the way, I think it's phenomenal that he was recognized for one of the highest achievement awards that anybody could get. It brought him to tears. And I think, when some things like that happen, there's a lot of truth behind people that,
Yeah.
that they're so overwhelmed with unexpected joy that we look at him and from a different capacity because there's so much subject matter that's just not adding up. But he always says that through consciousness, we can get to these people or these entities and they are friendlies. But at the same time, we learned about our military soldiers being injured by these others. So Clifford Stone says, jumping ahead, Clifford Stone says we have 57 entities. And that he did deal with friendlies at time, and he did understand the telepathy. So he was part of a uniformation of the military of crash retrievals. So we must have good and bad there also as well.
Yes.
And I think that's why people look at religion. When you have one God that chains you down in the Garden of Eden, says, "Don't eat apples, I'll chain you here, you'll stay here," becomes the God of the Bible. And the other one who wants to release them and give them the information on how to thrive on the earth, which is the serpent of the light, then who really is the one that is the better guy? See, it's the disinformation, the confusion. But we do know when you base things like that and you reach into the box and pull out and open Pandora up and say, okay, let's look at all this stuff. It's just mind blowing. But I do know with all the abduction cases that I've worked with, talked to, and phone calls received, people are and do get hurt. But at the same time, there are some abductees who don't speak of these types of experiences. And, I recently was told to look at it from a different perspective also. How much genetic material would they really need from us that they would keep abducting people? So was it more about contact? And were some of these crashes intentional crashes because they didn't know how to get to us and they were merely trying to help possibly our human race? Remember, humans didn't come to Earth by themselves. They weren't just here. Something brought our DNA into the picture here. And that's how we got here. And I'm not saying the Anunnaki did it. And I think there was something here way before the Anunnaki. When we look now of the hundreds of thousands of years ago where we're finding artifacts, then there is something more to the picture. And it's been a huge picture.
Oh, yeah. And and the thing of it is what gets me is there aren't enough people that get involved in wanting to do that type of research to find this stuff out.
No, you get a lot of what I call the look. This is I'm going to start getting flack for this. This is what I call the new diaper committee. They're the readers. They're the readers, the hopers, and the ones that want to come out and be the most popular dopers. And that's the truth. They want to create a name for themselves while they sit behind the computer and be a keyboard warrior instead of going out and do the footwork like some of the, that's why I will only talk to people that I know do the work. I mean, to really go out and do the work.
Right.
Not the ones who just, I'm going to write a book because these are all fascinating. And I'm not saying, okay, great. You looked up the historical records of facts. All right, but how many times and how many people do we need it, and how many times do we need to recreate a popularity of something that's actually dead?
True. Very true.
So we need to walk away from that. We need to get away from certain characteristics of how we move forward, in my mind. Like I said, I'll get in trouble for the new diaper committee, but look, I'm an old man. These people are 30, 40 years old, and they're trying to talk as if, hey, man, I've been there, done it, and I did it all. You aren't doing shit. You weren't even born yet when I was doing it, and I didn't even know what I was doing at that point, but I was doing it. But I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue that I would still be here in this scenario of life. I'm going to shut up, but because I want you guys to be able to talk.
You're not going anywhere. That's all I got to say. You're just not going anywhere. And if anything happens to you, we'll just go stuff you and put you in a corner and hand you a book and say, all right, Michael, tell us what we need to know now.
Yeah. Well, I think we already have the answers.
Oh, most definitely.
We have the answers. We don't need them to dictate to us anything. And why would we need a space program unless there wasn't some type of threat, or it's all a device of something called AI technologies and more? If, in fact, this is everything that we expected it is. And remember, we've been conditioned about everything. So how much really is real of everything that was real that we learned?
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back a long ways. My parents, my parents' parents, their parents, and they've been conditioning us for so long that you're right. We don't know what is true. When I found out that our actual history is not true, there's a lot more in it. Like, well, we'll take, for instance, World War II. We were always, we conquered, we did this. No, we didn't. We grabbed them up, all their scientists and all their smart asses, and we brought them all over here. That's what we did. And they decided to work for our government. And we didn't win shit.
That wasn't a choice. That was an agreement.
True.
Germany would allow us to look like the warriors as long as they could filtrate the areas of the United States for a future date. Same thing that happened when we turned to a corporation. When we turned and lost our freedoms and turned, look, these are value points here.
Yes.
All right. I can even give you something else that's value points that Maxwell Jordan brought up many years ago, was when you look at Lincoln's death versus Kennedy's death, what the comparables are. They're mind-blowing. And everything was in a sequence of 100 years. And everything works like that. At the Vatican, you can't open these documents for 100 years. Right. Everything is a 100-year increment type of thing. And sometimes you hear of others. Well, they don't care about other agreements of what they agree to with people if they make no difference to the scenario. But look, there's too much in this reality. We know it. We know the facts are there. The proof's there. I've had encounters with myself several times. One where I could have threw a rock and hit the ship. It was right over my damn head. It sat there for minutes, and it was actually intelligently corresponding to my light that I was aiming up at it. I think I talked to you about that on your show, or we were a private on phone, because we've had a couple really nice long discussion telephone calls.
Yeah,
but
your poor wife.
Yeah.
I say thank her for letting us sit here and talk crazy. It's all good.
Well, we're not really talking crazy. We're throwing a lot of tidbits out there. The breadcrumbs are falling everywhere right now, but that's because the system of the process is that big, and those breadcrumbs matter just as much as the little ones we're throwing out. But we need to come to the analogy of we know they're there, and there's even other information that says by 2027 we will have no choice. We will have no choice but to understand their existence. And now, we will only be taught that.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are saying that treaty that they had is already expired.
The Grady Treaty between Eisenhower?
I don't know if it's
Over an Air
his or
Force
if it
Base?
was whatever. Yeah, I think so. I think
Okay,
that's
well,
it.
there's not just that one.
Oh, well, crap.
Yeah, well, crap. But they don't all. They're not all quite the same. They're really not. And we have witness testimonies of abductees that talk about certain things they've seen. You have cattle mutilations. Little Moulton Howe kind of was the queen of that scenario. Great, fascinating work that she does. And she's probably has one of the largest. Uh, you know what? I don't want to really say this. It's not negative. It's all positive. But because of what she's done, the work that she's done, a lot of people choose to reach to her with the information. She has a lot of things she's never truly came completely forward on, that I think would help us. But I don't know if she has more of a planned time for her event of time to make the best impact. I think she has more information. I really do. I believe that.
Yeah,
Well,
she
you
was
know,
researching all the cattle mutilation when she started out as a journalist. I remember that,
Yeah,
reading
it
about
just
that.
wasn't cattle though. It was horses as well, sheep. We were seeing a lot of things done, and let's face it, why would our government really need to do that? I mean, they could take anything they want from anybody. They had the power and you know superiority to do anything they needed. This, I think, example of what we've seen. It was because there's a technology that the ET does understand that we don't, on this process of cloning and some of these other things, and synthetically creating humanoids or androids or whatever you want to call, when you cross over. And when we talk to people who actually witnessed a few of these little bodies, it does correspond in ways that these were made like creatures, grown and made in ways half machine. Like when you hear when somebody gets abducted, they say like they have no control. Their memory's gone. All the frequency comes through their eyes. Everything works through the eyes. Them shell lenses. They're shell lenses that can be removed. Supposedly that we understand if all that information is factually true, but we do understand how it works. And I think Clifford Stone even explained some of that in some of his witness testimony. Remember, he was a military guy on
right.
credit retrievals. He could actually hear them in his own mind and have conversations with them. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And I think what we're looking at here, it's part of what the whole narrative of the left and the right fights over, the control of how and what and when, and how to make us more like something that once was, that is no more. And now, because of how we were taught, their own battles being kicked right back in their face. And just the same with the phones.
Yep.
They had no idea, with computers and everything, how far we could get into the technology as well to expose them from their own
Right.
creations. Because DARPA put all this, everything you're looking into right now was all a product of DARPA.
Right.
I can remember walking into rooms with computer machines. They would take up 20 by 30 rooms for one computer, 20 feet by 30 feet for one computer to fit. Now it's smaller than this.
Yeah. Technology.
Exactly. That's definitely
Technology.
part of it. And I think technology could help humanity, but it's about who has their finger on the red buttons and what we choose to get rid of. And before this technology, because you know what? This technology is not just about enforcing it against man, security watching, being able to do and look at 100 million cameras all through the United States of America at one time and be able to react to a problem that is going on 100 million times at one time. This computer can also get into the ether consciousness of the earth, whatever this fragment that creates us, and all these messages that fly through the air from these cell phones and all these other Wi-Fi systems going on, is they have found, I think, a loop into the consciousness of earth that they can get into this with this technology, this thing. I think there at one time it was called Helen. There was a couple names given for the goddess of the computer. They were like nicknaming their creation. Um, but who's to know? Who's to say that that's factually true? But I do think that they are looking for, and part of their biggest plan is to be able to read the ether, this natural element of frequency and vibration that exists all throughout because it's all information. If you take a skin cell from your body, it holds the memory of everything your mind ever lived.
Yep. Yep.
So here you go from this thing huge to a microdot. And I'm not talking about the microdot from the 60s.
Well, they say even water holds memory.
Yes, and you can change it by frequency and just through talking. If you're sweet, if you talk nice, if you're beautiful about the water and have respect for it, it freezes differently. And when you're angry and talk to the water, it has a distorted look. On one side of the light, it looks like a snowflake, like a beautiful crystal flake. And when you talk negatively to the water, and then you try to freeze the samples, they are distorted and they don't look anything like what you would imagine, and that could even be possible.
Right. Robin wants to know if you're familiar with Sophia.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that beautiful young robotic lady. If that's the one you're talking about. Yeah, she's the first. And she can control whatever she wants. I can assure you that from everything that I've researched. Is that what she's talking about?
I believe so. Robin, are you talking about the robotic Sophia? Knowing Robin like I do, I'm going to think yes.
Okay. Well, there's not just her. She's the first one that they basically allowed to be part of the introduction and to the new norm 20 years ago, basically. The issue to that is that's not true. There were other things through military and China and development and research where these things that they were creating on the very first early platforms, where these robots were killing scientists. They were actually teaching each other back and forth how to mutate. And so within a dialect of consciousness, almost as if they were creating their own sense of consciousness awareness. And I think even Linda talked about this, Linda Moulton, where it was expressed and exposed to where 20 scientists died because of a misunderstood action in front of one of these, and they all started to interact against the humans.
Oh, wow. And how do you shut down something like that?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not like you can.
I don't know.
It's not like you can pull a battery out of their back or unplug them from the wall. I mean, if you're going to have things that can be that dangerous, you have to have some kind of a kill switch. I mean, you have to.
Yeah, and it's like Fauci once said, it can self-mutate. So you may want to look at it that way. Well, I'm not talking about the bad thing. I'm talking about just the wording here. That they have consciousness substance in a way. They'll never understand totally what I think of feeling and whatnot, but they may teach themselves unknowingly to us that they are also this thing. And these circuitries are also picking up on how a lot of other things are working while it's doing. And how do you trust something that you create that has such an ability?
Right. You know what? I'm going to bring this up. Steven's going to go, oh God. You know what a Furby is, right?
I know about the Furby little people, kind of thing.
So I had one. It's always been really quiet, never really learned a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine moved and gave me hers. Now hers is a chatterbox. So what I've noticed with them is when the big one wakes up, my original little one will wake up. When the big one talks, my little one is starting to pick up what the big one's saying. Mm-hmm. it's teaching it. And I'm over here thinking to myself, maybe I need to pull the batteries out of them, because they're teaching. So I thought to myself, well, if these little toys can do this, and they're making these robots that are kind of like humanish, what are they going to do? What are they doing? They've got to
Yeah.
be learning, and you cannot tell me that they haven't figured out, well, you know what? We don't need these humans. And here's what I got to say to the elite. They want most of our population gone and make the rest of us slaves. What's going to happen when we're gone? Because they obviously don't want breeding. Are they going to think that they're going to rely on these robots to cater to their every need? Those robots are going to get sick of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, that's self-generating intelligence that we're talking about here. There's another word for it, actually, but that's the closest one I can come up with right now, that may make sense to your audience. But it's true. And here's the thing. They can actually Wi-Fi anything back in your home to whoever's listening. I mean, you have cameras in your TVs. I mean, you have to really, if you want to protect yourself today, you got to wear the red glasses, because blue light bad for you. You know, it's true. I mean, you need red screen, not blue screen. You need red screen. You got to change everything you own in order to stay away from all the sad, negative scenario things. I see. I don't see them as the red ones like I have. If you looked at mine, they look like Santa Claus's coat. But when you look out of them, they look clear.
And see, yeah, and now these are blue, but let me tell you what, when I take them off, everything's bright. When I put them on, everything has a yellow tint. Everything has a yellow tint.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's funny you brought that up, because I went to the eyeglass store today because these headlights in these cars, which I think has all been a new narrative for them to try to take older people off the road, or people just to hate to drive at night.
Oh yeah.
You can't even look at these headlights anymore. And this was all about getting the glasses treated for anti-glaring, and they couldn't do it unless you bought a new pair of glasses. And I said, well, they are brand new. Well, I didn't say it, but I'm like, I come home and I'm talking to Twig, and I said to her, I says, I wonder why with the glasses are like they're brand new. I got 2 for 1 at America's Best when I got them. I never used them, and I thought, well, great, I'll take these out, leave them with them, and I'll just use the other ones till these ones are done. And they wouldn't touch them. No, if there's the slightest imperfection, it'll all start to peel off. It'll distort the whole vision. Every excuse under the freaking sun. So I'm going to start looking now to see if there's a laminate type, because you can coat cars with clear, I forget what they call the material exactly, but it's like a plastic. You can change a paint color on your car without painting your car now, just by using a spray bottle, a squeegee, and cutting it out around and of course, you got to have a pretty good hand to do it. And some of these guys are fascinating with the work, but I'm thinking to myself, I can do it. I don't need you, Right. I like doing things with my own hands, but I never anticipated for them to say, oh, we can't, why didn't you, why, it's all about money. It's all about, technology and, and lies. So everything filters with filters of, more bullshit. But yeah, you're right. You have to be just so careful with the technology. We're surrounded by it. Everything's smart appliances. Your car's a smart appliance, basically. You can look at it that way. And why do you think they really want to go to Mars? It's because we know, because of math, and the math being done, even though it was in ways as what we think was partially destroyed, the side that we can see was partially destroyed, is because there's the biggest deposit of lithium there anywhere that we can get our hands onto it. And we may need technologies like that, but what do we do with all the trash of the technology when it's just sitting here rotting and acidating into the earth, because these things aren't good either. So I don't know what the scope of everything is, but I know they want to go where no man has gone before, supposedly.
Yeah, right.
And you can question
supposedly.
the space program on that and the 20 back and some of the people that come forth, the whistleblowers that talk about those systems of uh, where and what they've been through from Montauk and all the way through the space program, being handpicked and selected for everything. But it's because they can land on things and bring back giant diamonds and bring back gold the size of whatever. And when you ask, like, where is our military defense equipment going from the water? They are refurbishing submarines for space explorations. They may have already done it. That's the craziest part about it. And the
Right.
destroyers, because some of these people describe ships that are miles long as well as not miles long. And maybe sometimes when we pick them up or see them through Hubble or whatever the hell's being used, maybe they're actually ours up there. Who knows?
Yeah. Stephen, did you have anything that you wanted to ask Michael about? Probably pick about anything. He's a plethora of information.
Yeah, so I guess so Boston Dynamics, that was bought by Google, they had robots that they were developing. Recently, over the past few years, I've seen that the videos they release appear to be CGI. So I don't think they are showing the public their robots anymore, but these were all terrain robots. They started making four-legged animal type robots, and then they were having upright humanoids that they got up to like running speed. And it seems like all the development just stopped being publicized, and we're getting like dancing videos from the company now of these robots dancing in unison and everything. It's not showing like the progression anymore of what their technology is, and I'm sure they're hiding it for a reason. So I'm wondering if you're familiar with that and where you think they are now with Boston Dynamics.
Well, the future is going to continue into the future for these types of things. China is far more superior with a lot of this than we are. And I don't think that Amazon has any hand in anything. I think when you look at what Google is and the enormity of the reach that they have, they can get anybody to create anything for themselves. I've seen these what they call their canine dogs. I've seen a lot of these things. They can fight now. They build walls. They do things where man cannot. And maybe that is, as was said earlier a few minutes ago, that this is the dismantle the human population to have these robotic entities build America back in a way that they want to see it, whether it's through using things that we cannot be near that they want to have. And then it would put, the world in a, the human in a more protected space and area, and just allow certain types of robotics to perform these things. So that's one outlook to them. But I do know that Amazon right now is very heavily into the air drone deliveries. And I also, air drones, we are being confused and networked because there is a bunch of droning going on in the United States. And it's really helping the disinformation look more true as to what the objective is behind the UFOs and the sightings of the UFOs, because people can be playing with them from distances now, and they have capabilities of going 15 miles away, and people are just nebbing into people's homes and stuff with these things, young kids, whatever. They're just doing it. You used to have a license for it, and then something hit 4 years ago, and nobody cared about anything. I've been trying to get just to bring up an example. I have a commercial property down the street from my home, and outside of the egress where you pull into the parking lot of this commercial area, there's a car. It's been sitting there for 6 months and been calling on it because it's been left there wrecked, sitting on the wrong side of the street, heading in the wrong direction, in a no parking zone, and the city of Pittsburgh will not tow it away. We have a towing division, but we will not tow it away. I've called the police 12 times. My I think my wife walked over one day because there's a car wash a couple doors down, and she went over and said, "Is there anything you can do about getting that away in case we have to bring in any big and we need to cut the turn more?" And he said, "I can't do nothing about it. We're not allowed to touch anything. It has to go through what's called the new field process, the sanctuary city process, where things can be as they are until they say they can no longer be." It's crazy. We just got a tax raise here of they were trying to go for 46.5% on a property tax increase. And by the way, we're the only city that I know of that I'm unaware that every time it rains, we have to pay tax on the rain hitting our property.
What? Yeah, they're a little ridiculous out there.
This is where we're at. So it got into an argument because they said we need to do this. It's part of the Allegheny County, Pittsburgh. It needs this. The funds are low. It can't function. No, what they did was they did wasteful spending under Harris running the city because Harris used Pittsburgh as a platform for her campaign. Truly, under this demonic entities, idiots of who they are. And what they did do, though, is they're going to allow for 2025 to have $600 million to build up a small little area in downtown Pittsburgh that should be not an issue for city, but for more of the public who owns the property and development, and then maybe help the scenario. But no, they're going to contribute $600 million instead of putting people in homes. Their biggest fight for this money was because they didn't get the 46.5, but they did get 35.4, I think, percent increase. Still, that's an enormous amount. Nobody's taking care of the seniors. Nobody's taking care of the homeless vets. Oh, look, but Donald Trump's going to give his pay again to all homeless vets throughout. It's going to be divvied up, and so much is going to go here, there, the whole time he's in office. And he's been the only guy that gives his money away while nobody else is. Although a lot of good people try to help. Anyway,
we have a question in the chat. If you could comment on the, I think the dicyanin optics that were used in Vietnam to see other realms through the red glass goggles. Are you familiar with that?
The red glass came from the visionary lenses of the ET. So were they used there at that point? I would suggest that you look at the book Trinity and see if that puts you on a path of where you think that technology may have existed. I don't think it did at that point. Doesn't mean I'm right. It's never came up to me, but I can only tell you I know that it was a reverse engineered product. That's where infrared and the red lens came from.
Yeah, I've heard stories about just soldiers in helicopters that were wearing them. Some of them were seeing flying beings following the helicopters that they were in, and it just made them lose their minds, some of them.
Yeah. Let me give you a quick story. This will blow your mind. This makes perfect sense to what you're saying in a way, truthfully. All right. So I had a phone call from somebody on, I was doing a Bigfoot show, and I told, if you want to talk to me, get in touch with me. And somebody did. And part of their story was they were in their car and they were startled, I guess the best way to say it. They put their foot on the brake and they turned the key to the ignition, looked up to observe in the rear view mirror, and noticed something was standing there behind the car. Something very big. The head was way over the back windshield. It was hard to make out if it was big, hairy, and furry, but it was very big and large, and it looked humanoid. And when they let off the brake, just out of like, holy, what the hell was that? Like a reaction, old type of event, it was gone. And they were like, oh, what the hell did,
the red light.
Yeah. So listen, yeah, they put the brake on, put the car in drive, looked back in the rearview mirror to pull out, and it was back. So red light is an importance, but how and why and when it works the way it does, I don't know. But I hope that helps you a little bit there to say there's probably truth to it. But I think these are things because my son was in the military and he ran the warehouse where everything and anything was under his authority. everything had to be brought back, placed in a certain place, relocked up, depending upon what the material goods were that we owned, that the American people owned, that he was under his watch. So these are things that I know that existed that were actually influenced into the military, like in the last 25 to 30 years. But it doesn't go back as far as the question. But pretty neat story about the brake lights, the red lights really having an effect.
Yeah. And I bet they have control over that, like how much of it they can put in your eyeglasses so you don't see things that you might not supposed to. Like if you go and you find these infrared glasses,
Mm-hmm.
They sell them for the military all the time. Well, I'm sure they get the A grade ones. So if we go and try to buy infrared stuff, how much of a downgrade do we get? Because they're obviously like to hide a lot of shit from us. So
yeah. And that's why they call them first generation, second generation, third generation. They title them certain ways. But you're absolutely right. And there's no way for us to really know. But who we could take the word from is people that we can document that we've talked to that have utilized and used these things. And I've talked to Delta Force people. Nick Valente, he was there. He was somebody that saw Dogman. He knows all the instruments. He knows all the equipment. He knows all the hardware. And I could even show you something different. It would go right here, and that would be for in the tunnels or for in the air. So you would right here. It's the real deal. It's the real deal. I'm not going to say anything more about that. But I will tell you, there are tunnels. There are levels. There are sideway elevators. Yeah, a lot of people don't know what they are, but they exist. They go down, then they go sideways, then they go down again. And it's a way to throw off anybody that does get down in the first junctures of the levels below, where a lot of the really despicable and let's just say there's things down there you wouldn't want to walk across. And our military full well knows it.
Yep, and they smell funny, really bad. Stinky.
Well, it's not that we're not talking about sulfur type things. We're talking about things like Phil Schneider did.
Oh, yeah.
And they've come across a lot of this. I mean, you have to understand how far the tunnels go. They go from the East Coast to the West Coast. You can drive tractor trailers from one side of the United States to the other. And we even have what's called below the ocean surfaces.
Yeah. I was going to say, because don't they all connect from country to country also?
Yeah, exactly. And where they don't, then submarines are used, like Epstein's place out on the water, not the one in Washington, D.C., the capital, because that's Epstein's other island. And that's a joke, but it's true. But believe it or not, a lot of these people that went there that were involved could operate a submarine. And that was, some say, an old military installation, and part of it was left in cap. So submarine transports could come in also with, I'm going to be careful of the wording. You can only imagine what was going on if they were utilizing because it wasn't all by airplane. I mean, an island that could land planes, and everybody wants to know about the Black Book. Well, look at Heidi Fleiss. She was the first Hollywood madam. She was the first P. Diddy. She was the first Washingtoner above Hillary.
And she could drive a submarine.
Yeah, and she has a license.
Yep.
Believe it or not, look it up. She actually has one. And she's also met the Queen. I got pictures of her shaking her hand. They're not CGI'd. They're not CGI'd at all. I mean, but there are things out there that are also. There really are. And, that's part of the hard battle. So we have to go and we have to understand that people do really good research and do try to write books and do the footwork. Really literally knock on the doors and go and reach for all that you can find. Those are the best ones, because you're not going to find at these moments in time anymore 50, 60 years later, the answers that were there 50 or 60 years before it. So the closer that you can get the information from like Jesse and all these other people about what was Roswell really about, and the funeral home bringing these little boxes in, and the scenarios, and you start compiling all these informations, and you listen to the Clifford Stones, and you listen to the people of Brazil and Peru and all this, where, they were being tormented and haunted by aliens. But then, again, it goes back to that system of where there is good and bad, because there is a way to reference and contact through consciousness and meditation a higher something entity that will appear and come. It's been witnessed, it's been filmed, it's been documented. Even one of the leading people that ever did this type of work, and it covers a lot of fields, was Jacques Vallée. And he found portals and heard sounds coming from within areas of darkness, of nothing, but yet observed like something. I'm not going to get into it. My notes aren't in front of me. I'd rather repeat from my notes. They're not in front of me. And even Paula, on my show, we talked a little bit about some of these things. I don't remember all, but she's going to come back on. We're going to hang out again. Just a beautiful woman who's done and reached. She's probably one of the most fascinating women on the planet. I mean, truthfully, not to say that there aren't a few other good, really good people, or maybe 10 or 15, but they're kept in the dark. And the good ones are also pushed out of the platforms into the dark, different ways, nefarious ways, because of the military complex.
Yeah. What do you think of CERN?
Sometimes I wonder, when they turned CERN on, if they didn't actually turn on a matrix. Things changed in about 2012.
Yes, I keep saying that.
And there was also things witnessed, and it was actually CERN Switzerland newspaper who took pictures of when they turned this on. A projectile light, they say, came out. Now, I don't know if that was just something to radiate a beam of light on purpose, part of their whatever that they're doing it. I don't know if it had any implications as to the source of how the system really worked, because we know we're working with speeds of light and we're crashing things into each other, because they claim we want to find the God part. We want to get the answers to every. And I think they got the answers. I think what they're trying to do is control dimensional influences.
Yeah.
And to be able to reach into boundaries of technology, because things of technology are coming from these areas. Right. So they weren't established to the higher anarchy. They're already getting ready to build a new one. Oh, they've been already started that. But why do you need another one? Colleges have smaller ones that were test project systems that they were building on their colleges. That's why grants were going to colleges. That's why they were telling the colleges how to teach the young generation for what they were going to do in 2020, when we started to see things aflame. That was the directive narrative. The same as when we understand who really funded the colleges on healthcare, and what we would teach them was to teach doctors, just keep prescribing medicine. Don't get involved on trying to actually cure the cure.
Yep.
So I mean, this is what they do. And when they put their finger in, and they have you under the thumb control, they can do that. And so if they fund it the right way, they can come in and send a military officer in and give them a wake-up call, like the Men in Blackwood, same type of thing.
Right.
Come in, threaten the CEO or the executor of the college, whatever their title is. But yes, they're everywhere. And that's why Skull and Bones was created and placed into certain academical colleges and so forth. It was power. It was all the selection of bloodline families and things like that to come forth and to control. And what they use is not the pure of the bloodline; it was the outsource of the bloodlines. Because even the queen that just passed away, if it's true that London Bridge fell, and that was her time, you know, who's to say? But they all have a part of how the narrative works. Because she was
Yes.
not a pure blood; she was a
Right.
half breed.
Yep.
She was a half breed. So just when you see some of these other people, that's the same ones that were selected, just like Obama.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I did. I did hear
They
that.
were all conditioned too.
Yeah.
They all had a product, a process of product, an influence of teaching. So it's not that they couldn't go to school and get a degree to become a lawyer, but while they were there, they were under the influence of other, curriculum of what the military wanted. And the military would implant the type of people that they wanted as professors to teach these things. That's why when they're on call, they can be gotten.
Yeah. You're absolutely true. I did hear that about actually that whole royal family, that when Diana stepped into the picture, because she was of royal blood, pure royal blood, there was another guy, not Charles, because he wasn't pure royal blood. There was another guy who was. And they actually wanted to have Diana have a child from him so that they could have a pure royal bloodline in that family somewhere.
Yeah.
It all goes back to the same thing with everything else. It's bloodlines, 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 bloodlines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is an origin of the first that you can't deny that. That's just how it works.
Exactly.
And we can't say if it was before or after a flood. There's been many devastating floods. We see the water marker lines. It's not just one occurrence of something catastrophic that happened just because it's labeled in a book's writing. But there's been many things that has happened on this planet, and good archaeological people go out there and do these types of reference work. They understand what they're looking at. Well, the layman eye just oversees it, but they're looking at the layers, the crustaceans, the stone, the sand, the black, what happened here. And that's the same way we look at ice when we do drilling in the ice. That's why we know that, yes, we go through periods of time where the earth does get hotter. Things are not abnormal because we see them go back in the ice crystallizations that they do. So when you have these times where that's just another part of how the system works. So it's
like when I hear somebody turn around and say, "Oh, it's climate change." Oh, sure it is. The climate changes all the time. Where have you been?
4 times a year.
Yeah, 4 times a year.
4 times in a day.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens in Texas. Like our weather has been really cold at night, and then during the day it's 80. Like tonight it's supposed to be 40, 39, 40, but tomorrow it's supposed to be 81.
Right.
But then tomorrow night, well, we have bipolar weather.
Right.
Texas has got bipolar weather. If you don't like the weather here, just give it a minute, blink, and it'll be different. So,
well, they are working specific types of let me get my wording right here. So let's just say the machinery's out on the water now. They're also working on the landscapes. They're also now working in the air. It's accommodating everything, and they can trapulate atmospheric weather, and they can hold the jet stream back. And by doing that, they can create these initiatives in temperature. And then when you go into the certain part of the atmosphere, you can cause ice crystallizations, the same as they do at the ski resorts. And it stays up in the air, even though it has substance and weight. It doesn't fall. It's really weird, but it doesn't fall. But what it does do when you walk outside, you feel the difference There is a difference, because
Right.
I know when I would be outside carving and they would do it and they would come over me, not only would I get like a response to like the natural air and wind, you would feel something automatically change, and you suddenly the whole atmosphere got chilled. Just they would, as the layers progressed, the lower the temperature became. And I watched this for years going on. But I have friends in Spring, Texas, up by Pittsburgh, Texas, up near the border, and they have a big camp up there. And they go 4.5 hours to get to their camp, and they says it's like night and day because you can get snow lines up there. But they're also feeling the effect of what they are controlling through the jet stream from the West Coast through the Ohio Valley sector into the Northeast.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Mother Earth has always done. It's kind of like if you think about, when a plane takes off, if the Earth is moving 1,080 miles an hour constantly, wouldn't the location change once it was up and they would have to re-GPS it to find it, to land there?
Yes, it would.
I mean, maybe I think in a way that if we move, we don't move at the ratio that they talk about. And that's why I think they changed from the Gregorian calendar to the new calendar. Instead of 13 months, 12 months. Instead of, 28 days to each month, then we have,
30 and 31. And
yeah.
then we have leap year. Don't forget about leap year now.
Yeah, it's got to come and put everything back into some kind of place. But there were times and dates that have passed us where dates were just removed off calendars.
Yeah.
Just to catch up to the old world, you know, or to hide the old world. That's how you want to look at it, really.
I wanted to say, when you had mentioned something about fire and CERN up in 2012, I didn't know in 2012 anything about CERN. I hadn't gotten that far into checking into things. But I will tell you this. Every time somebody says something happened a while ago and the earth shifted, and I said yes in 2012 because I felt it. I felt it. And I swear it was 2012. Every time I talk to somebody, 2012.
Yeah. And when I look at my historical records, and they're not really historical, but on the climate, that's when we started to really get under the rash of the sun. So I would agree with you that in that interplanetary time that something did happen. They didn't want us to know about it, of course, and that's why at first they were worried about the sea level. But yet at the same time, they were all building homes on the ocean front. All the elites were building in America. Don't move by the ocean. It's going to be taken out, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, if they wanted it out, they could take it all out. They could create these things.
What do you got here for us, Stephen?
This is a different particle accelerator that was built in Illinois in 1967, and I think it's still currently active. But I just wanted to throw this out there too, since we're talking about the Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah, the Fermilab. They called it that because something to do with the firmament, but I'm not exactly sure, but I do know of about 12 locations where these exist. I knew of this one. I haven't did any real research on them because I don't know. And I know one was even in a hospital. One was actually located in the deep under a hospital. I have all these locations pinpointed, and I can supply them to you guys at some point. But I don't know if this one is actually one of the ones running. The ones in the colleges, I don't know if they use them now for testing purposes and theories, just to teach, part of an educational curriculum. I don't know. The truth is, the only thing that we know by fact that they admit that is running is CERN.
Budgeted $739 million for this year.
Good God Almighty!
It's still running.
That's nothing compared to what it costs to CERN. What I call the I nicknamed it the devil's chair or something like that in CERN up there. But
yeah,
it's like 90 minutes from my house, by the way.
And you know what? This is what we don't know. I mean, does Earth, is this part of the Earth consciousness of a system that they are trying to rebuild to for a different type of what we understand of stabilization? And where does this information come from? Who shared it to them? How would they even know to think about it? I've always said, even looking at the whole political aspect, these people weren't smart enough to do this on their own.
No.
And it's not that they
Right.
were being told by an elite across the water who has a pocket full of money. It's coming from something else. They couldn't do this on their own. They're not intelligent enough. I'm probably more intelligent than most of them that sit up there in Washington and that have ever sat up there. And that's why there's only a very limited read in done, even with presidents.
Yep. Yeah, because they don't, and there's a lot of presidents. I think it was after, I don't remember which president it was, but after them, they felt that the presidents didn't even need to know the information about ETs and, all that stuff. They didn't need it. They didn't need to know.
Well, aren't we now at the point where if, say, you were to run for president, it would probably be one of your highest priorities to, have disclosure for the American people, for the people of the world.
They would probably want to kill me because I would be telling it all. I don't care what it is.
There are countries that are doing that, sweetheart.
Yeah.
There are countries doing it. That's the whole part of the narrative of the thing. We've had people through ATIP and so forth and private sector organizations. Who was the one rock artist for a while? He was into this, then he went MIA. I can't remember, but he was doing a lot of rock and roll music, and he decided to get into the ET thing. And they went to Italy.
DeLonge.
I'm sorry?
Tom DeLonge.
Yeah. So Tom got involved with ATIP and people who resigned from ATIP, but also were parts of ARPRO. I think it's AARPO, something like that, who were basically learning about all the things that we want answers to. They went to Italy, and what they learned in Italy from the information that I got was just mind-blowing. And I think that's one of the reasons that Paula felt good to stay there and do her work from and out of Italy, and then start her journey to other countries, investigating and doing other casework. Because like I said, she's one of a kind that goes anywhere in the world, even if it costs her last penny to get there for the information. She's just been a true rock star. We need to support people like her, especially now, later in her life, with everything that she's offered. So Tom DeLonge, kind of started a GoFundMe thing that just seemed to fail. And I think he was gotten to in a way to where he was told to just quit and stop. In the last congressional hearing, I think we get more out of Hollywood than we got out of that meeting. The first one, we know that we're dealing with biologics. We know it. We're synthetic beings of some sort. I mean, it's admitted. So how do you take and not weigh the evidence to say they're here?
Yeah.
Do you have to keep looking at the religious depictions to say it? No, you don't. Even if you go into the religious books, it says that Jesus was on one.
Yeah.
Ezekiel. I mean, so you have these other information. So, I don't know. So what does it really come down to if we look at everything as a cure? It seems that it's about furtherment and technology, but also a recreation of something that is no longer here, that they want back. That's why we see the cult at work the way they have been the last 4 years, their new way forward, why they look for unicorns, which are the hermaphrodites, half man, half woman, half man, depending. Some look like they have characteristics of all women, but yet they have both genders, and vice versa.
I had a friend that was like that.
I think we did talk about that. So these are the unicorns, the very special ones. And that's, Baphomet was something that was also created, though. I think around 1861, somebody came up with that Baphomet, having some type of ancient informational thing that needed to be put back out there, but just rebranded.
Yeah.
I mean, look how they rebrand everything. When you look into the different project and Blue Book and how they change, and grunge and all these different, mechanisms that we had that our military was investigating. And then you get the Condon report says, we can't talk to the American people about this. We can't tell them about this. It'll destroy America. But I think America's ready. I think the whole world's ready now. And I think we're not seeing thousands of documented scenarios of things in the sky flying. Of course, a lot can be ours. I think we have that technology.
Yeah.
Brad Olson, who I've had on, who's done a lot of investigation work into Admiral Berg up at the Antarctic, and something came out and sliced the boat in half, and it was described as a hubcap shaped type spacecraft. Came out of the water, went over the vessel, and basically just laser cut it apart, like the rod of God, or what we think happened in Hawaii. Passing over the blue homes, but with the homes with the blue roofs, but everything else was destroyed. So these technologies are just not brain smart. They truly are. They can take orders and they can deliver very sophisticated weaponries. These weapons of mass destruction, you might as well call them, because that's what they are.
Well, I know that a lot of people that are not awake to some of this stuff, when it does come, and you know what, I hope I am still alive to watch it just so I can see their faces. But when it does come out, it's going to take a very long time for people to even trust people that are telling the truth and doing the right thing. Because we have been lied to by so many for so long. We don't know what to believe. We just don't know.
Well,
it's hard to say.
Again, I'll try to direct you the way I've directed my life. Go to the source.
Right.
The sources were there. They're not no more. They're gone. The Paul Hillier's gone. Stanton Friedman's gone. John Lear's gone. I mean, some of these people I have had contact with. John Lear, yes. Stanton Friedman, I pumped gas in his car. The footsteps of my life have just led me through this. I think I was like 12 or 13. And I'm past my mid 60s now, and I'm still doing it. Right. And I don't get recognized for it, but I don't really care. I know in my heart what I've discovered, what I can speak on, and how I can try to help people. So go back to the old sources, the whistleblowers, the Carrie Cassidy Project Camelot interviews, Paula Harris interviews, Jacques Vallée, Dr. Michael Salas. I mean, listen to what Brad Olson says. Listen to what Jim Goodall says. Listen to what Bob Lazar said, because it was actually true. And we know it now. He worked there. I mean, he was part of it. I have a picture posted of S4 right on my one site that came directly from Jim Goodall, who is a personal friend of Bob Lazar's to this very day and moment. And I have it. It's on my thing in the National Sightings Registry hotline. If you look that up, you can go in there and look at some of these fascinating videos. And these are some of the main sources of the cases. Colonel Corso, I mean, the one that was seeing the bits and pieces. Since he's on the computer looking, go under the National Registry. What the hell was he called? I don't know. I don't even know what my shit's called. I have 100 groups.
I know, right?
I have 100 between political and UFOs and being a moderator for some people in their groups. But let me just, I'll just let you know what it is. And yeah, I have to. I wish I could remember everything I do. I have America Disclosing, and there's a ton of crap in there. There's a ton.
Well, you've been doing this stuff for a long time.
Yeah, I really have.
You have.
I really have. And it's sometimes I get a little bit fed up about it. We all go through that parts and bits and pieces, things where you get on the burnout end. But things like this revive me. They rejuvenate me. So I thank you for inviting me on tonight to just, have a civil conversation with some people that want to, you know, share informations.
Understand and learn and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're just going to lose their minds. They're not even going to know what to do. I read one of those things on a meme that said, y'all might want to think about really getting you a conspiracy theorist friend, because you're going to need it. Because everything that we talk about, though,
I'm a transparent. I don't care what they think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care either, but still, I mean, everything that anybody talks about, sit there and really take a good look at it. It happens. It happens. Or it comes out. I read an article today that said that there has been a whole lot of stuff uncovered after a 2-year investigation of that whole thing that we got in trouble for last time. Mm-hmm. And that they're saying that everything that the conspiracy people have said is true. And I sit there and I think to myself, yeah, that's true. Well, let's see, when we thought about this is true. We knew they did pull a slick one on me with Kamala, though, because I knew they were trying to do that, but I honestly thought somehow they were going to try to slip Big Mike in there. I mean, Michelle in there. So, I thought maybe they were going to try to do that. So they kind of pulled the wool over my eyes on that. But when we say some of these things, it's like we find out about it, we research it, we check into things. My kid thinks that I know absolutely nothing. I know nothing. I know nothing.
And I know how that is. I have children.
I
think they come around. So I found that this particular one group, the National Sightings Registry Hotline, that's where most people get in touch with me if they want to talk to me about, something they experienced and they need an ear. I try to help them. I do get contacts, or I have other people within the network who are abductees as well as investigators, and we all collaborate together and try to provide, some comfort and let them know that, their story is important and they don't have to give their name if they really don't want to, but just be informative in a way to where that they can provide enough information. So if you go in there, some of the most important clips in history, including the Stranger in the Pentagon, Valiant Thor, that will give you some there. I have authenticated pictures of who he is, when they were here, and where they came from, and which president that they sat with. And that was a one-on-one contact. Then you have the Serpians, Planet Serpio. They came here to retrieve bodies of a crash, and through communications that were able to take place because of a crystal radio type of mechanism that was on the craft, we were able to learn before J-Rod died, the alien that we did have in captivity, how to use it. And we made contact, I think, 6 or 7 times. And we made an agreement while JFK was in office for us to send 11 people. I was initially supposed to start at 13. I think only 11 boarded. There was like 93,000 pounds of material goods and motorcycles, just anything to keep these people occupied on this other planet, and so forth, while they gave us also scientists of an alien-like beings to stay here with us. And they wind up supposedly going for so many years, and it took a few years longer because the track of time and so forth. But this did happen. And if you go back to the movie Contact, Hynek was in it himself. So he was actually in that movie, and he played a part in it. And there is a real clip within it of one area. Same with the Holloman Air Force Base. It was first an 8-second clip, and they only allowed 3 seconds of it to be shown.
Yep. Yeah. Stop hiding from us. Stop hiding it all from us. We're tired of it. dang it. You know, Michael, I'm going to tell you something. I would never give up. You know, they have live feeds in Pennsylvania. And myself and Andy, we keep an eye on a group of homeless people out there. They're always there. And I thought to myself, God, I got to get a hold of somebody that's out there. Do these people need blankets? Do they need this? And it dawned on me. I sat there and watched one night. There's apparently somebody that owns a barbershop out there. And once a month, he goes down there and takes all the men and he shaves them, gives them haircuts, does all that stuff. They hand out water. There's people that show up that bring them blankets. And I've even seen vans pull up with a bunch of plates in it and they feed them. And I thought, that is pretty awesome because you don't really see that in a lot of places. The homeless in LA is bad. So, but they don't do anything for them. So I thought that's pretty cool. I really like that. And I would never give up living in Texas to ever move where you are. But doggone it, I wish I would because I would so hang out with you guys.
Yeah, you know, it's
hang
crazy.
out with Michael.
It's pretty crazy how the world, you know, we can be worlds apart, but where our mindsets are just seconds away from each other,
Right.
of where we are, how we think, and what our interests truly are. And you're right. Actually, I wish we could do something like that in a way. I don't know how to make something like that really happen. The only thing I can do is suggest to people go to conferences, meet people, things like that, learn more, listen to the people that are really doing the homework. I don't know everyone. I don't follow everyone. It's hard to do. But I will say that I talk to people who believe unequivocally in what they speak about or the informations they have. But again, I'm going to say this for the record. The further we get away from the time of the incidents, the further away we're really getting away from the information. So it's everything that we can document, record now, and lock down. That is where all, to me, the most important tidbits of everything really lie. Because you can't talk to people once they're gone. You just can't. So you have to rely on the people that are still here with us now, because tomorrow may be gone for even them. And those are the important parties, the ones that have been in this. And you know what? Like me, I've been doing this my whole life, but I haven't foot researched everything. There's plenty of people out there that have been on these investigation sites. I'm not one of them, but it doesn't mean that I don't have the critical parts of the information. I am a copycat in many ways. I really am. But I'm willing to admit it. I'm not an expert. They are the expert. They are the experts on what they learned because they knocked on the door. They are the true heroes of who we need to give the most respect to. But what I am is a person that likes to document the scenarios and investigate them from the standpoint of being a keyboard warrior. I know it's shameful to say, but it's true. And when I'm asked to do lectures or speak, I don't, because I didn't do the work like these other people did. I don't feel I have the qualifications to stand in front of people and lecture or speak to them on subject matter that I did not have anything to do with, except for the fact talk to them. But when you talk to the source, and I've been fortunate enough to have that, and that in itself is a big plus over a lot of the people that will never speak to these people.
Yes, absolutely.
But it doesn't make me good. It just means that I can tell you what I've learned.
I just wish I could kick my brain back into high gear so I can just absorb stuff like I used to. I think after I had my stroke, I lost a lot of that. So if I'm not jotting things down to remember them, 5 minutes from then, it just may float right out of my head. But going to the conferences, getting together, and it's times like that I wish I never stopped living my life when I lost my leg, but I really, really had to start doing things different. but I miss being able, because let me tell you something. If I had most of my life, I would be in my car driving all over the place to go see everybody. I would go by and get Steven so that we can go to Gettysburg. I want to go to Gettysburg so bad. But for me to get out of my house and leave and go somewhere for a day or 2 or 3, I have to take my medications with me. I have to make sure I have everything that I need. You know, it's so hard. When I went out to Susie's, I stayed there 2 nights and 3 days. And I am here to tell you, I felt like I was moving in with all the stuff that I have to have with me. So it makes it so hard for me. I just feel like, you know, I really want to do these things, but it's so hard. It's hard for me to make that trip, you know?
Yeah.
So I miss it. That is one thing that I can honestly say. There are 3 things that I miss. I miss fishing. I miss getting in my car and just driving until I run out of gas, and that's where I go and hang out, you know?
Thelma and Louise on the road again.
There you go. and I do. I miss being able to go places on my own and hang out with my friends. I have a best friend who is a bartender at a small little pub out in the middle of nowhere. And I used to stay with him when I first started having surgeries on my leg. He was my bestie, you know. I had to stay with him one time, had surgery done on my leg, and I needed a shower so bad, Michael. And I could not get my leg up into the tub. So I looked at him and I'm like, okay, bestie, look, okay. You and I are on good terms. Yeah. Yeah. I said, I need to take a shower and I cannot get in there by myself. I'm going to need you to help me so I can get my leg up because my muscle wasn't working yet over the tub. So I go in the bathroom and I'm like really kind of regretting this because, you know, he's my best bud. Get my clothes off and I said, okay, I'm ready. And I turned around and he's standing there with nothing on. I said, what are you doing? He said, if you think I'm letting you get in this tub by yourself so that you can fall down in my tub, you're crazy. So let's go. Let's get it over with. I'll help you wash your hair. It'll be good. So I miss him. I don't see him that often anymore because he's always at work. I would love to just show up at his work. You know, hi, Betty. But I can't because I don't get along by myself. I have to have somebody take me. I have a car, and I think they can do hand controls in my car, and that's about the only thing I'd have them do. If they move, I could drive left-footed, but I'm so short. I mean, I was 5 foot nothing. I have to turn sideways in the car to be able to reach the gas pedal. And I think that they might find that a little illegal, if not a little unsafe. So I just don't drive.
Yeah. Well, they do make hand controls, you know, that they can put in your car, and there's supposed to be. You would think that our government reaches out to people knowing that they are in need, and you would hope that they would send pamphlets on things that with vital information that gives them a quality of life. And
they don't.
No, I know. I know they don't.
You know, I found out by accident, and I think they fired the guy. When I first lost my leg, my company bought me my first wheelchair. The place where I work bought me my first wheelchair. I had that wheelchair for about 3 years, 4 years. Well, I started messing up my shoulders really bad. Now, mind you, I was still only like 120 pounds at that time. But my shoulders were getting screwed up from the manual wheelchair. So I had a gentleman from my insurance and stuff called me up and he says, so what year did you get your electric wheelchair? And I said, who do what? And he said, well, don't you have an electric wheelchair? I said, no, I don't. I didn't know I could get one. And he said, oh yeah. He said, okay, when did they buy you your first? I said, do what? I said, they didn't buy me a wheelchair at all. Oh boy. I found out that I got my chair. Every 5 years, I get a new one. They turn around and come and replace anything that I need. I found all this information out from this guy. Oops. So I they don't tell you anything. But I did find out from him also I could get hand controls. But here's where they get you. Your car has to be a real good year, like a newer year within 3 years. Now, my car that I have is a 2006 Pontiac Vibe, but that car only has, I think now, 40,000 miles on it. Because the person I got it from lives in a small town, and she only used it to go from her home to work at Walmart and back. She never went anywhere else. She bought a new car, didn't want to trade it in. Said, hey, you need a car? Yeah, because when I lost my leg, I used to drive a stick. Can't do that with one leg. Trust me, I tried. I got mad one day. I was going to go out there and drive myself somewhere. Yeah. Couldn't figure out how to. So I gave up, got back in my wheelchair, and went back in the house. But
Well,
they don't.
where are your children? Why aren't they coming and taking you in your vehicle or something as a designated driver?
I have a caregiver who actually stays with me. You know, he's got his room, I got mine. When I go somewhere, that's who takes me. My daughter, I only have one, and she lives in Kansas because she moved out of Texas because, well, it was too red of a state.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have one of those. She was real good till she went to college and took liberal arts and got a degree. Now she's smarter than her mom, right? And I'm like, really? Just because I told her, I said, you know, the biggest thing with you, what the college didn't teach you was called common sense.
Yeah.
Because you lost that somewhere. But that's where she's at.
Well, you can always point out the rest of the world has more common sense than she does. I mean, we woke up and we showed that, you know, and thank God we had good people watching everything, stopping the steal.
Right. And yeah.
They were there. I guarantee you they were.
Oh, yes. There.
Yes. That's why Harris wouldn't come out and do her speech that night to tell everybody to go home. We put up a good fight. It wasn't strong enough, you know, and she came out the next day. Everything's going to be gravy. We're going to, you know, transition's going to be beautiful. And who was she to say transition is going to be beautiful? She had no authority to even represent a statement like that. That should come from Biden. She's only a VP and was missing in action, you know, but not really, because he was the one that had to do his legwork those 4 years.
Legally, now, and I'm going to say this because I can. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Legally, she couldn't even run because she did not primary. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's number one.
Yeah, well, she was self-appointed by the elites.
Yeah, well, of course she was. So somebody says, well, that's not legal. You're right. But then again, I say it like this. You know, in the last 4 years, I don't think that there is anything that has happened that has been legal. Well, they don't do anything legal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we saw everything get to where it was. But, you know, there was a conditional sense of patriotism that was running rampant through the United States. And I think strong people of wealth and some who even represent the L system said, this is going nowhere. And the only place it's going is going down the toilet in a destructive manner. And even we stand to lose everything unless we back Trump too. So even the Luciferians and some of the other Felicians and Caesarians thought it was best to just let the loss remain the loss. And when you look at one of the other things, she's the only person in history that put her campaign $20 million in debt to the American people.
Yeah, it's because that barbecue that they threw. That's where she made that money.
Yeah.
And it, you know, I mean, it's like, but where did it go?
Remember, like you said, it was all a lie and manipulation because remember the race was paper thin.
Yeah, that's right. Sure was.
Don't have sex with your husband's lady. If you have to go home tonight and he won't vote for me, don't have sex with him. The things that she was saying and sharing to people, and the things that she was having and paying people millions of dollars to stand in front of people to say was all scripted information
Yep.
against Donald Trump. And the world, the more deplorable that she became, the worse off the campaign got. And even her own teams were seeing it, and they were also admitting it within the cabinet. She couldn't keep help for the 4 years that she was in there. And the
Right.
things that they blamed Hunter for actually turned out to be her pink pie.
Hers. Yep. Yep.
I don't think they bet on Harris having a drinking problem either, because that's a factor that probably messed a lot of things up for her.
Harris has a lot of problems. Harris has problems that isn't even public, but there
Right.
are some of us that know about it.
Right.
There's a lot of problems there, and
Yeah.
I had, let me tell you one thing before we wrap up. My cousin, a few months ago, said, "Are you voting for Trump?" Now, this is a girl who screamed at me that I was going to die because, well, I wouldn't, you know.
Yeah.
So, and here I am. So I didn't even answer her. I never answered her. Didn't say a word. I thought, you know what? I'm not going through this because for the last 4 years, my family is torn apart. And most of them don't have anything to do with me. So I'm just not going to say nothing.
Yeah. And
That next morning, after that election, the next morning, I woke up to a message that said, "Do not ever contact me again. I hope you're happy. I hope you're proud of yourself. When you lose your Social Security, I don't want to even care. I'm not even going to give a crap. I don't care what you do. We're going to lose everything. We're all going to be enslaved. We're all going to." And I'm thinking, where in the earth are you getting this?
Well, that was the message from Harris. Everything you're saying is the reversal of method that she used. What Trump
Yeah,
would repair, she would scrutinize him for. And
yeah.
that's how it worked. Now, how do these people objectively and properly look at the information before they run their mouth without doing the research for the information? Or, if anything, as well as I do, it's going to get better. And I think we all woke up from a better night's sleep that night, at least the day after. I think people in America finally went to bed and slept. I'm seeing longer fireworks. I'm seeing Christmas go back up in the little communities because I have like this big river frontage, and across there are all these small communities in the valley coming up through Pittsburgh. And it kind of reminds you of the Polar Express, kind of like, wow. And just to witness the change and to see the stock market go $1.3 trillion through the roof 2 days after he won the election. I
And I'll,
mean, everybody in the world knew. Now,
yeah,
what he needs to do is get his hands, lock it around the issues with all these great people that he's picking, and have them go on the attack to stop the price gouging, to get the prices cut lower, to start substantiating, even if the government has to take a few more blows to get us there. I think money like that being used for us to make it happen will be proper, and we should expect some of it. And I think he's going to put the tariffs to Mexico. I think he's going to shut down the northern border, not just the southern border, because why do one when the other one's having the same problem that no one talks about? They're
yep,
bringing
yep.
people in through land, air, and sea. And everything that they can take back from these people, bank accounts, anything that can be confiscated back to the United States government of all these billions of dollars given away to them as well, should be refunded, recollected, and redistributed through America.
I
But again, I totally agree with you. I don't know why people think that way. I just don't.
well, and
They didn't follow the homework.
yeah, and I think that something that Trump said once, a long time ago, actually, things would be better off for everybody if we were all on a level playing field.
Yeah.
And at first, I didn't really realize what that meant. And then I thought about it and I thought, is he's saying that if we were all equally as wealthy and taken care of, not a high society money, just enough, buy a home, you don't starve, you know, that's what he's talking about, a level playing field. And I will tell you that that night was one of the best nights ever. Do you know what we did? We ran a live stream. It was me, Stephen, and Susie, and we sat here and we had everything up. We had people in the chat keeping an eye on the electoral votes, and we had it going on.
Yeah, I think he's watching Bongino or something right now because he's like, unless that's just a still picture of him there.
No, I'm going back and forth. I'm checking the chat and.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you, brother. I
Afterwards,
thought a little humor might be a good thing. That's all.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, and I think that's why he brought Kennedy in too. And it doesn't have anything to do with the mysterious deaths of the Kennedy brothers and cousins and so forth, because there's been many.
Yes,
I think it had a point of reference of unification, of creating things different into the future and how they will operate. And I think his picks will work that way. And then you still have the Bronson brothers case. What's to happen with that? What will they do about it? Because they know that there was a steal. The Supreme Court knows it. They know it. They made the Bronson brothers sign an NDA. You don't do that unless you're working with something that's majorly big. And we know that the military got involved and said, it's not time for you to do anything. So there is a divisionary side of the white hats versus the black hats of good and bad military. And, one of the things also, like the Trump said that immediately he will do with mental health benefits, he will discharge all these undisciplined people acting as women who are men in the fields of the military, and so there's a lot of things. I mean, we could sit here and talk about 4,000 or 5,000 things that they did hid in these thick books in Congress, giving people an hour to read them that could do nothing but had to vote on them, or they would get their way anyway. And we're going to have to, there's just so much work to do. It's going to probably take a good 10 years to get it all together. So I think into the future, the best thing that we can do is support the man, not their plan. Let him do what he needs to do. Get in there, get the heads rolling, change the power of the governments, get rid of all these old school people, bought up, sold pedophiles that have been around way too long, and don't even give them good grace, because a lot of people are saying, oh, wouldn't it be just good if he came in and just said, look, bygones are bygones. I'm going to run it my way, get the hell out of Washington, and it's over. How do you do that when the people of America lost family members, businesses, all these things, yet people were still thinking, forgive and forget? That's throws justice out the window. That's not how law works. You give them freedom and pardon them, then law fails. And law didn't fail against him. It prevailed for him because the preponderance of the evidence always acquitted him.
Yep. Well, I say public hangings and drawn quarters.
Well, I say we go with what the states allow in their jurisdictions. And maybe that'll make a lot of people think twice about their actions in the future, because people are driving erratically everywhere. They're not obeying traffic. I mean, really, something happened to the mentality of humanity on this planet. I've witnessed it in my own cities, like where people are just like radicals. And this car can be a weapon, and their actions about what they're doing and the drug use and I'm not saying pot's bad, but you legalize one, the next thing's going to come along, it'll get legalized. You say the word shit, and then fuck becomes the problem the next time, and then now that's okay. Has that not all been approved now? Where are the $500 million fines going out to Universal and the Fox and to all these other stations out there? If you said the word hell, it was a violation that has been and now kicked. Within 20 years, none of these things matter anymore. And what you see on TV, gay on gay's fine, tongue down this throat's fine. a little shot of the cooch over here is good. A little shot of the genitalia on him's okay. I mean, under their leadership, you would have started to see porn every day on TV being shown. And it's already there. It's not hard to find for a child to
Right.
find. When toys actually on the back of the labels promote porn sites, the children's toys, we have a serious problem, and they allowed it. When the FDA says it's okay to have listeria and salmonella in all the foods, and we're going to do nothing about it but create more fear, have the cost of eggs go up, and tell everybody there's 93 million pounds today, reported today, of beef, chicken, and poultry now poisonous and toxic to the American people.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
it's
Even our vegetables.
It's
Vegetables are the same. Yeah. Yeah. And vegetables are the same. They're spraying them with coated stuff. It's seeping into it. There is nothing that we can eat or drink. And I think the only reason why it hasn't killed us all a while ago is because they started off with little bitty doses. Little bitty doses did it. Okay.
I'll contradict one thing of what you just said, Brenda. There are things that we can eat, but we have to really
grow them ourselves.
Yeah, we have to either grow it ourselves or go get it locally produced.
Yeah.
Like nothing at the big branch stores or anything.
But they fed it to us slowly at first. So our bodies are kind of adapted.
Full of parasites.
Yeah, full of parasites. Oh, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding.
You know, the one of the reason you urge sugar is because it's an abundance of parasites. A lot of people don't want to really put that together, but it's actually true. And it's not how you diet or how you work out, but it is how you eat and how you control your method to the madness, because every person's body is different. And when you find your niche, that's when you're going to be most successful on detoxing your own body. And it's not because you're using this or black root or this or that. I'm not saying that some of these things may not help. In fact, they very well may. Who in the hell can afford all this shit to do it? So the first place you start is within your own consciousness, sense of consciousness as to how you can better yourself to move forward. I mean, that's how I see it. That's my outlook when I do things. And, you know, I'm getting older. I want to try to buy some longevity. I want to do things the right way. I don't want to, you know, be the one that gets to retire that never retires. You know what I mean? Because I see that happen too much. I had a friend at the fire department, and he wasn't my friend very long, but we had such a great conversation. We were talking about what we're talking about now. And I says, how many years you got on as platoon fire chief here in Pittsburgh? He says, 37 years. I said, dude, what are you doing here? He says, well, and then I turned on the TV a few weeks later after this long talk, and he died at a fire, fighting a fire. He didn't get hurt from the fire, but present at the fire, at this fire, he dies. And he never got to do what he thought he was going to be able to do. He looked great when I saw him. Big built guy, you know, nice looking fella. And you know, how do you say anything bad about somebody as a platoon manager who's training everybody into the future on better technologies and survival and everything else that goes into it under the work element as well as the rescue element? It was just a fascinating conversation. I felt like I lost my best friend that morning. You know, so for me, longevity is really, it starts with you and your own mind and your willingness. And you've got to be strong. And we were for 4 years. Imagine if you would have started 4 years ago, where you would be at right now, looking how you could be right now. I mean, for me, I've been doing it for 5-6 years. I found out I had sugar. I no longer take any medications. I stick to my walking regimens. I do a little bit of light workouts. And yeah, as I'm getting older, I'm feeling things. I wake up sometimes, get out of bed and say, oh, Christ, what did I do last night? You know, I was in bed, for crying out loud. So, you know, you got to take care of yourself because age does catch up to you, but you can do the best you can because you want to.
That's right.
That. The first steps, was it the Chinese that came up with the old Chinese proverb? 100 years ago, I heard this. Well, I'm not that old, but it was a long time ago. To anywhere to start is by taking the first step.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Michael,
Are you throwing me off? Now that you got me here, and I stayed the whole 2 hours.
You did, and I didn't even take a break. How you like that?
Oh, I didn't know that you didn't.
No, I didn't. I know we were just talking away, and I thought, I'm just gonna let it go.
Hey, make sure if you can, Steve, share this to my page, and I'll make sure it gets shared. You think you're going to be okay tonight? The conversation was okay, and they're not going to demonize you and wipe
I
it off?
think that we'll be fine because I mean, if they're going to demonize me, they're going to do it with Nadine's because she was just a hollering and telling everybody exactly how she felt. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah,
great.
I'm trying to hold back from that, especially if I brought pain to anything before.
Well,
It's like you got to ease up, try to talk different, you know.
It doesn't, to me, the way I feel, we have a First Amendment. We should be able to use it. And it doesn't matter what we're talking about, okay? Just shut the hell up and get over it. Quit being big crybabies. But that is the only thing, when I started doing some checking throughout all of my videos, that is the only thing that they ever had a problem with was what we were talking about. And it's like, so I try not to bring it up on anything. I try not to mention it. That's all it is. You got to call it by name, and that's where they have their fit.
Well, I
have found,
they know that they're screwed, and they're trying to protect themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been times on here where we've made fun of Biden, or we've made fun of this person, or we sit there and express how we feel about Obama, but never anything gets niched. It's always just that one thing. And that is it.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. It blows my mind. I actually, at first I was thinking it was pretty doggone funny. And I thought, well, I'll just go to Rumble. And then I couldn't figure out the Rumble going live. I was like, what? I'm still working on it. I pay for Rumble. So I should be able to go live. And I have done every step that they have told me, and they're telling me I'm either missing something or I'm not looking in the right spot. And I'm like, so now I've been just uploading to Rumble because I get a headache doing this for months on end. I'm like, oh my God, I am so computer stupid.
Well, the information is probably there, but you're absolutely right. We don't know enough. And that's sad. And, to reach out to ask anybody, they're happy to hear that you don't know, because if you come aboard, you might make them lose people watching their show. There's just, it's like, who do you ask? How do you get help? You either do it the way you're doing it and the way I am, because on YouTube, that's all I can do. I mean, I can't get subscribers. And if when I do get subscribers, nothing goes back out to the people. They get no notifications. I don't even get your notifications. I subscribed to you the last time I was on, and I had to do it again tonight. Why did that happen?
Yeah, I don't get yours either. I just happen to scroll down because I'm always on Facebook, and I scroll down and I see that you're on there. So I'm like, yeah, I do the same thing because this show goes out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Twitch. There's other things, and you can get this show live if you go to my X. We're live right now on X, but YouTube can be such a massive platform that can help a lot of people, that can do some good things. And instead they worry about you mentioning one little thing and they throw you in the toilet. And that was the first time I've ever gotten in trouble. And they did it for a whole week. I thought, the first time, didn't it used to be like maybe 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole week. And I was like, Todd, are you got to be joking me? I felt like a kid that just, stole a candy bar and I was grounded. Dang. But, I expect it a lot of times when, I get knocks on the door, the military's at the door, I get emails, I get, and I expect it because of when I have people on, what we talk about, I know it's going to happen, so it doesn't, It doesn't make me angry. If I get pissed off at them, but I don't get mad at you. I mean, we're just speaking the truth, you know. I can't help that they don't like it and they're afraid of it. Doesn't matter to me. At least we know what we're doing. But
I only try to bring strong content, good discussion, and sometimes I get out of hand with it because honestly, it's an energy of anger that sometimes consumes me in my own mind because of everything that I've witnessed and all the sadness that I had to incur and take in as well, just because every day was an experience for something of devastation everywhere. And,
yep,
I just blow up and it's sad. But
yeah,
they are still in charge in many ways, and it's going to take uh, a good cabinet to blow this out of the park in a good way that starts to really protect, uh, you know, the true meaning of what citizenship is in America.
right.
You know, but I mean, I do hear where you're at, and like I said, I feel bad. If I bring something that bad onto somebody's platform, even if it's the truth, sometimes you gotta like regurgitate it and not sometimes say less than more.
And it is sad that we have to do that. It really is. But we still have to get together, and I still have to go do a show for you.
Yeah, you come on, please,
Yeah, yeah. We
please,
still have to
please,
get
please.
together and do that.
You can bring Steve with you, even if you guys just want to
Yeah,
come on and we'll shoot the shit
sometimes.
one evening and just have some fun getting around Christmas.
Well,
We can
see now,
talk
I
about
will
anything.
totally, I will totally open up and detail with you on your show. Steve knows about me, but he does not know every single niche in detail.
Got
So, he comes with, he may learn a few things. Whether he wants to learn them or not, he's going to learn a few things.
Yeah, I'm
But,
down for joining. I mean, it sounds good.
right?
Thank you for the
Rebecca, we're
invitation.
getting ready to wrap it up. How late am I? You're late. It's okay, honey.
Yeah.
Stay when it ends and you can just replay it so that you've got it.
There you
But
go.
but go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and your awesome content.
Mm.
And nobody be talking to him 4 o'clock in the morning because that's my job.
Well, I mean, I do shows on at times UPRN with Sean, which is UPRN Radio. I also do Oracle Talk Radio. A lot of my stuff comes live directly to my Facebook page. So I would just say try to follow me there if you really feel that, what I talk about is things that you like. And I do get pretty deep into the rabbit holes. That would be Michael Anthony. Just look me up. I usually have a little flying saucer insignia or something floating on my cover. That I would say that's the best way. I'm pretty much right there because when I got wiped off some of the other platforms when we were all going through this, but it was actually happened before that.
Yeah.
There were things you couldn't talk about 8, 10 years ago too. And that was ufology. Now ufology, there's an easement in it. And on the other side, it's just good times, bad times. It's whatever they choose is the right time for them to punish us. But so yeah, Facebook, Michael Anthony, that's good enough. Look me up, look through some of my stuff. And if you have any questions, I can send you to sites and groups where there's a lot of videos. I mean, I got thousands of hours now on videos, and I mean, I've lost track, and I lost so much off YouTube or something, and then the girls behind the glass removed 150 contents because they just started to disappear. You know how you rely on something being there because it's within that format plan? It
Yeah.
should always be there. They were disappearing. So then they were unloading onto these little black boxes, all these videos and stuff that most of them were between 90 minutes and 2 hours there. So, I mean, literally, I have hundreds and hundreds of videos, and I wish you could see everything that I have on my box. I'm afraid to put it up because these are the old schoolers, the heroes, and I can't even put them up because they could be
Yeah.
gone tomorrow.
one day you'll be able to do that.
Maybe.
I really think that one day
Maybe.
you will be able to do that.
But it's been good, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Oh
much.
God, thank you.
Appreciate
I always enjoy having you on here. Susie told me, because I know she was listening. She might have fell asleep. I don't know if she's still there. She wanted to be here, but she was at a horse show all day and was just wore out. So she's like, see if you can come back again. See if you come back next week. See if you come back. Because she loves to listen to you. You are the only guest that I've ever had on where Susie just sits there and listens. She doesn't really pipe up too much. She just listens, and she is fascinated with the things that you say. It's like she's in.
I'm humble. I'm humbled to know that there are a few people out there like that actually take me serious for, the seriousness I put into the work to talk about these things. It's humbling to hear those things, and I appreciate her. I don't know her well. I hope I can get to know her better. Sounds like a fascinating individual, but you guys have been fun, and it's been great. I guess I'm going to go up and watch a Christmas movie or something and try to keep my mood in the forwardness of Trump.
There you go. There you go.
He's my Merry Christmas. I'm just so happy. I'm devastated about it, man, in a good way. All right, you guys have a great night. I'm going to take off so you guys can chat it out and say good night. Thanks, everybody. It was nice meeting you all.
Good night, Michael.
Good night.
Thanks for being here, Michael. Have a good one.
Thank you, Steve.
So, Stephen.
Yes, Brenda.
What do you think of my friend?
That was a great show.
That's my
really enjoy having Michael on here.
Information pool. I met him on a. I first seen him. I used to watch a Bigfoot show, CRYPTIDS and stuff like that, and he was on there, and he had brought all this information, and I just started following him, and somehow, and I don't remember how I did it. I ended up on his Facebook, and yeah. So when I first started talking about doing Bigfoot, I thought, oh, you know what? I can get a hold of Michael Anthony, But then, we talk and we know about a whole lot of other stuff. So he does have a lot of information stored up in his head. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could store information like that in mine. Apparently, I need a secretary. Oh, and you, Mr. Type So Fast. It's awesome. But
well, yeah, I was able to put the phone numbers in the chat for Nadine's stuff, and then a few other. I mean, I'm doing little things here and there. I tried to cut back on it because he was calling me out. He's like, "Well, you watching Dan Bongino?"
That was cute.
I know he was just joking.
Yeah, he was joking. But yeah, and he knows a lot of people, so it's lots of really good information, and he's always a good guest, and he can cut up and get everybody laughing just the same as everybody else. He puts the information out. He's serious about his information, but he's not a stuffy, serious person. Like, he can't crack a smile. Not Michael. He's good for it. So, but everybody, we are going to get out of here. And I do hope Denise and Julie, you guys are still paying attention. So next Friday night, when we come back, I am doing a massive round table. I will be bringing in quite a few people, and we are going to lay down the law once again. So watch for the notifications. I might put down who all's coming on. I don't know. We'll see. I have extended a challenge, and I want to see if that's going to happen, which would be so great. That would be so great. So we are going to call it a night. I've done 3 shows this weekend, 2 in one day, and I'm still I'm not standing. I'm still sitting. So, but everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for this weekend. We will see you next weekend. And I'm going to definitely try to go back to my normal time, which is 9 o'clock Central. This hour early kills me. It doesn't allow me to get enough done and eat. Like I haven't eaten again tonight, and I had to take a shot because I need a coffee. So when we get done, I got to go shove some food in my mouth like crazy.
Yeah, I have to go hunt real quick.
Yeah, right?
I'll be back at it. Yeah.
So we're going to call it a night, guys. Y'all have a safe week. Stay out of trouble. And like always, please be kind to one another. Good night, y'all.
Goodbye for now, from Beyond the Box.
Please join us again for Beyond the Box, Friday and Saturday evenings, from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. Join us for more intel bombs from our extraordinary guests.
Good night, Putin. Good night, Tucker.